Hello, good morning everybody. Hope you all are fine children. Today we'll see Unit 2 Supplementary, a shot in the dark. What do you mean by shot in the dark children? Shot in the sense, something you guess where you don't have knowledge about any matter, you just guess it. That is what shot in the dark. Now here you could see a picture, you can find some 10 differences. Okay, where you have time you can do with children. See what the line says. How observant are you? Individually try to spot as many differences as possible in 5 minutes. If you have spotted less than 5, then you really need observation skill just to save yourself from being misled. Okay, so you should save yourself children. Just try to spot, see before 5 minutes how many things you can spot out. Okay, now coming to the lesson. Here is an amusing story that describes how a man who considers himself very smart and observant finds that he had mistaken the genuine plea of a standard youth. What do you mean by amusing story, children? Interesting story. This is an interesting story that describes how a man who considered himself smart and very observant finds that he had mistaken the genuine plea, in the sense request, of a standard youth. The lesson points out that sometimes truth is mispretended, and a truth, it is misled sometimes, and people who think they are acting wisely are not always right. We think whatever we do it is right, whatever we think it is right, but that is not always true, children. Sometimes we may go wrong, we do go wrong sometimes. So before you go wrong, be alert. The feelings and actions of fellow human beings have to be trusted and given due respect. Okay, we must respect others' feelings too. Now coming to the lesson, children, let us see the character in the story. Here Philip Slitherby, a man who aspires to become a politician. Here Philip Slitherby, he is willing to become a politician. He has a long desire to become politician. Then Mrs. Salpen Jacko, a rich and influential lady of high rank. Okay. The next is Betty, son of Mrs. Salpetin Jacko. Then Claude People, a friend of Slitherby. Okay, this is the character sketch. Now let us move on to the story. Philip Slitherby settled himself down in an almost empty railway carriage with the pleasant consciousness of being embarked in the sense boarded, on an agreeable and profitable pilgrimage. Philip Slitherby happily settled himself in a compartment, railway compartment carriage, in a compartment with the pleasant conscious. He has some pleasant thought in his mind, thinking where he is going, for what purpose he is going, thinking of that thought. He happily is seated in the compartment. He was born for Brill Manor, the country residence of his newly achieved acquaintance, Mr. Sapleton Jacko. Now where he is going? Slitherby, he is moving to Brill Manor. It is a country residence. And why he is going there? To meet Mr. Salpen Jacko. Now Salpen Jacko full name is Honoria Salpen Jacko. Was a person of some social importance in London. Now who is Honoria Sapleton? She is a great lady in London. She has some social importance. Many people, great people, they know her. Of considerable importance and influence in the country of Yorkshire. Now, this lady, this Honoria Sapelchen, she lives in a country, Yorkshire. Now, where's this Yorkshire? It's in London. The country Yorkshire, or at any rate, the eastern division of it, was of immediate personal interest of Philip Slitherby. Now, Philip Slitherby, he has certain interest on this Yorkshire. Now, what is his interest? His interest is held for the government in the present parliament by a gentleman who did not intend to seek re-election, and Slitherby was under serious consideration by the party managers as his possible successor, and with luck the seat might be held. The Sapel-Jacko influence was not an item which could be left out of consideration. Now, what happens here, children? This Philip Slitherby, through some source, he met Mrs. Salpin Jacko. And Salpin Jacko, she is influence lady in Yorkshire. And Slitherby, he wished to become MP in Yorkshire, member of parliament. He wished to become member of parliament in Yorkshire. So, to become this member of parliament, he must have the influence of some great people. Without the influence, you cannot get into politics. So, since this man, he came across Salpilton Jacko, he wished to use this opportunity in becoming MP of that town. Okay. And political aspirant had been delighted at meeting Honora at a small and friendly lunch-on party. Still more gratified when she had asked him down to her country house for the following Friday to Tuesday. Now, once this Philip Slitherby, he meets Salpin Jacko during some lunch party. He meets her, and as they met one another, just he has a casual talk, and a lady, she invites him to come to her residence between the forthcoming Friday to Tuesday. She asked him to meet her in her residence. And now Slitherby, he doesn't want to give up this opportunity. He wants to use this opportunity to the utmost to become the member of the parliament. Somehow he wants to get into the political field. He wants himself to be in a great position. And how will he do this is with the help of Salpilton Jacko. This is what his thought. He was obviously on approval, and if he could secure the goodwill of his hostess, he might count on her nominating him as an assured thing. If he failed to find favor in her eyes, well, the local leaders would probably cool off in their embryo enthusiasm for him. Now, he thought if he doesn't get this lady's help, obviously the other member of the parliament will not allow him to get inside the political. So, he wants to get into the political field under any circumstance. He wished to get into the political field. So, he thought the only source for him to do that is to have some well-known person. So, the well-known person, who is that over here? It is Salpin Jacko. So, he wished to take all the influences of Salpin Jacko to get inside the political field. Among the passengers dotted about on the platform waiting their respective trains, Slitherby espied a club acquaintance and called him up to the carriage window for a chat. So, thinking this, Slitherby, he started on his journey. Now, as the train was on the platform, no, he just viewed a person whom he know in the club. He just called him and he had a talk with the person. Just a casual talk he had. And Slitherby espied a club. What do you mean by espied, children? Here, espied in the sense caught sight. Espied in the sense caught sight. The moment he caught sight of his club friend, no, he just had a talk to him for a few minutes. He had a talk, and then the train moved. Oh, you're staying with Mrs. Salpilton Jacko for the week, are you? I expect you have a good time. She has a reputation of being an excellent hostess. She'll be useful to you too. If that parliamentary project, Hullo, you're off goodbye. Now, before that train could move, no, he just has a slight talk. So before the train could move, no, uh, they just have a talk. And oh, here, no, the man, he says, the friend whom he meets, no, he's just asking, oh, you're staying with Mrs. Salpilton Jacko for a week. You are going to be there for a week. It is good to be there, no. She's a very good lady, excellent hostess. No, she'll. For sure you'll be happy over there, and no, hope your parliament project also will go well. Saying that, he says goodbye, and they they part each other. um, Now Slitherby waved goodbye to his friend, pulled up the window, and turned his attention to the magazine lying on his lap. He had scarcely glanced at a couple of pages. However, when a smoothed curse caused him to glance hastily at the only other occupant of the carriage. No, after the friend left, no, he said him bye, and friend he parted from him. Now, this Slitherby, no, he was just looking to the magazine that was lying on his lap. He turned the pages of the magazine, a page or two. He started the glance of the magazine. As he was turning the magazines, no, his traveling companion was a young man of about 2 and 20, with dark hair, fresh complexion, and the blend of smartness and desire that marks the costume of a nut who is bound on a rustic holiday. He was engaged in searching furiously and ineffectually for some elusive or non existent object. From time to time, he dug a sixpenny bit out of a waistcoat pocket and stared at it ruefully. Then recommenced the futile searching operation. Now, this Slitherby, as he keeps reading the magazine, he just looks to the person who is next by. The only companion in his carriage is a young man, 20 plus 2 in the sense, 22 years, young boy over there. No, he looks smart enough, uh, good looking. He has a good look. He was engaged in searching something else. This Slitherby, he was watching the man over there. What is he doing? This man, no, without sitting in the carriage, without sitting on a seat, no, he was just looking here and there, searching for something, pulling out something from his packet. He seemed to be tensed and ineffectual, no, in vain, no, he keeps searching for something else, and from time to time he dug sixpenny. No, he puts his hand inside the pocket, he pulls out something else. No, he pull out sixpenny, and ruefully, in the sense, sorrowfully, from his waist pocket he takes something else. Then he stares at that things that he pulls out. Sorrowfully he sees. Ruefully, in the sense, sorrowfully. Then recommends the futile searching operation. A cigarette case, matchbox, latchkey, silver pencil case, and a railway ticket were turned out onto the seat beside him. But nothing of this article seems to afford him satisfaction. No, nothing he could see over there. Something, no, he puts his hand inside his pocket, he takes out what all is there in his pocket, he takes out everything from his pocket, but uh, what he's searching, that he doesn't get what he's searching for. He just sees some cigarette case, a matchbox, a latch key, silver pencil case, and a railway ticket key, all he could see. But apart from that, no, he searches for something else. But none of this article seems to afford him satisfaction. He cursed himself rather louder than before. The vigorous pantomime in the sense uh, exaggerate behavior, did not draw forth any remark from Slitherby, who resumed his scrutiny of the magazine. Now this man, no, he keeps shouting at him. He keeps shouting to himself. And something else he keeps on searching. But this was not noticed by the Slitherby. Slitherby is busy in his work. And the way this man reacts, no, Slitherby, he stopped reading his magazine and he started watching what this man is doing, what is he looking for, why is he behaving in a different manner. He just keeps watching at him. I say, examine a young voice. Presently, didn't I hear you say you were going down to stay with Mrs. Salpilton Jacko, a Brill Manor? What a coincidence. My mate, you know, I'm coming on there on Monday evening, so we shall meet. I'm quite a stranger, having seen the maid for 6 months at least. I was away yachting last time she was in town. I'm Betty, the second son, you know. I say it's an awful lucky coincidence that I should run across someone who knows the matter just at this particular moment. I've done a damned archaic thing. Now, this boy, no, he keeps saying, he says, hello, I came to know that uh, you're going to meet Mrs. Salpington Jacko at Brill Manor. Oh, how nice of you. Even I'm also going there, he says. This young boy, he keeps introducing himself to Slitherby. He says he's the second son of Salpin Jacko. And he says, for last 6 months I was not in, last 6 months he was not in town, and he has not met his family member for long. And he says, no, even within a week, even I'll be there. Uh, I've done damn arc thing. No? He says, I've done some foolish thing. So let us see what is he mean to say that. You have lost something, haven't you? Said Slitherby. No, Slitherby, he says, did you lose something else? The way he keeps searching for things, no? Looking at that, he says, did you lose something? Not exactly, but left behind, which is almost as bad, just as inconvenient anyway. I have come away without my sovereign purse, with 4 quid in it. In all my worldly wealth for the moment. He says, I have not lost exactly, but I have lost my purse uh, with 4 quid, in the sense, what do you mean by quid, children? Quid in the sense, no, pound, 1 quid, na pound. He says, no, I have lost my he had some money in his purse, and along with that money, he has lost the purse. My worldly wealth for the moment, to the present moment. Now he is away from home, so to the present moment, that money only will safeguard him. But now he has totally lost his purse. It was in my pocket all right, just before I was starting, and then I wanted to seal a letter, and the sovereign purse happened to have my crest on it. So I whispered it out to stamp the seal with, and like a double distilled idiot, I must have left it on the table. No, he says, I took my purse to seal my envelope in his purse. No, he has some money, and apart from that, he has uh, crest, my crest on it. Crest in the sense that family symbol. He has that symbol. He took that symbol to seal the envelope. After sealing it, no, he forgot to keep the purse inside his pocket, and he says, like an idiot, no, I left my purse over there. No, he curses himself. Mm. I had some silver loose in my pocket, but after I had paid for a taxi and my ticket, I only got this forlorn little pennies left. I'm stopping at a little country inn near Brondke for 3 days fishing. Not a soul knows me there, and my weekend bill and tips and cabs to and fro from the station and my ticket on to Brill that will mount up to 2 or 3 quid, won't it? No, the man, he says, see, I have lost my purse. I have lost my purse, and I'm staying here in. I have come here for 3 days for fishing. For a weekend, I have come here, and I'll be staying here for some 3 more days. And I don't have money with me. I must go back to my country. Then for my boarding, lodging, hotels. Then no. For my cab, then tips for this all, no, at least some 3, 4 to 6 pounds I might be in need of it. I don't know what to do. No, the man, he keeps blabbering. He keeps saying to himself in a loud manner. No, he keeps saying, uh, if if you wouldn't mind, lend me 2 pounds 10 or 3 for preference. I shall be awful obliged. It will pull me out of no end of a hole. No, as he keeps saying to himself, no, he just requests the man sitting over there who was sitting beside him. Slitherby was sitting beside him. No, he said, will you please help me with some pounds? I'm badly in need of money. To the present, I don't have money. Will you help me with some money? I think I can manage that, said Slitherby after a moment hesitation. And after some hesitation, no, Slitherby, he agreed. He agreed, okay, I think I can do it. Oh, thanks awfully. It's jolly good of you. What a lucky thing for me that I should have chance across one of the mate's friend. No, he says, how nice of you. Thank you very much. No, you have agreed to help me. Thanks a lot. The young boy, he conveys his thanks to Slitherby. It will be a lesson to me not to leave my exchequer lying about anywhere. Exchequer in the sense national treasures. When it ought to be in my pocket. I suppose the moral of the whole thing is don't try and convert things to purpose for which they weren't intended. Still, when a sovereign purse has a crest on it, no, he says it's a great lesson to me that I should not be that much careless. When my purse contains much valuable, no, it contains national valuable. See, it's not talking about the money. Obviously, money you can earn anyways. But what he says is, his purse, no, it has a crest on it. Crest in the sense a symbol representing a family. He belongs to some great family. So obviously, no, that symbol that is left in his purse, no, it matters a lot, and no, he feels for it. I should not be that much idiot. I must be careful hereafter. The boy, he really feels later on. What is your crest, by the way? Slitherby asked carelessly. Now, Slitherby, no, is asking him, what is your crest? Crest in the sense, so what's your symbol? Just like that he asked. Not a very common one, said the youth. A dim lion holding a crosslet in its paw. The boy he answers, he says, see, uh, my crest, my symbol is Jim Lion, a lion holding a cross slit in his paw. What is that symbol, children? I'll show you. Wait. When your mother wrote to me giving me a list of trains, she had, if I remember rightly, a greyhound current on her note paper. Observed Slitherby. There was a ting on coldness in his voice. See, you could see two pictures over here, no? See this picture, this lion picture. This is the picture what he says. This is his symbol. That national symbol, what he has in his purse, this lion symbol. But Slitherby, he says, but I remember when your mother, she gave me the list of train in her notepad, she had this, she had the other symbol. What symbol the mother had? Greyhound. This is greyhound symbol. Mother, she had this greyhound symbol. See, you can see this greyhound symbol. But sun symbol, what symbol sun had? Sun had this lion symbol. So the family had two symbols in reality, I suppose. That is the Jacko crest, responded the youth promptly. The Dim Lion is the Salpentin crest. We have the right to use both, but I always use the Dim Lion because after all we are really Salpintins. No, the boy says, Jacko's crest, the symbol what mother gave, that is Jacko's crest. And the Dim Lion is Salpetin's crest. And we know, he says, we generally use both symbols. We know the family people, they use both symbol. But the boy, he used mostly, he says, Betty, he says that he mostly use this lion symbol. He is fond of that particular symbol, so he uses that symbol. There was a silence for a moment or two, and the young man began to collect his fishing tackle and other belongings from the track. For sometimes there was a silence. They didn't had any conversation between them. And after some time, the man, the young boy, he collected his fishing tackle. Tackle in the sense, equipments required for a task or a sport. Now, what is his task? He goes for fishing. So that equipments he collected. And my station is next one, he announced. The boy, he announced Salpetin, saying that, the boy, he announced Slitherby, saying that his station is nearing. I have never met your mother, said Slitherby suddenly. Thought, though we were correspondent several times, my introduction to her was through political friends. Does she resemble like you at all in futures? I should rather like to be able to pick her out if she happens to be on the platform to meet me. Now, all of the sudden, Slitherby, he says he has not met his mother. Whose mother? Betty mother. He says, Betty, I have not met your mother till now, but I had correspondence several times through political friends. We had correspondence. We knew through political friends. How does she resemble Betty? He started asking. Slitherby, he asked, how does she resemble? Does she resemble like you? Slitherby says, yes, my mother, she resembles like me. And why he says, why I ask you this? If she happened to pick me in the platform, I should know how she looks. For that purpose I am asking you, he said. She is supposed to be like me. She has the same dark brown hair and high color in runs in her family. I say this is where I get out. Now he says, Betty says, yes, my mother, she looks like me, the same brown hairs, as how I know. This is my family's way. So she looks like me, he says. Goodbye, Sleti. Goodbye, said Slitherbai. Now, after listening to all this, no, Slitherbai says, "Okay, Betty, bye, see you," he said. "You have forgotten the 3 quid," said the young man, opening the carriage door and pitching his suitcase onto the platform. As a young man, no, he was getting out of the carriage, no, he asked him, "Slitherbai, you said you will help me with 3 quid, but you didn't give me. You promised to offer me 3 quid." He just reminds him. For that, what he says, "I have no intention of lending you 3 pounds or 3 shillings," said Slitherbai severely. "But you said," Slitherbai says, "No, now I don't have any intention of giving you any money. Previously, I had some idea of giving you, I had idea of lending you money, but now I have no idea of lending you any money." No, Betty, he says, "But you promised, you said you will help me." "I know I did. My suspicion hadn't been rose then, though I hadn't necessarily swallowed your story. The discrepancy." What do you mean by discrepancy, children? Discrepancy in the sense difference. The difference about the crest put me on my guard, notwithstanding the reality brilliant way in which you accounted for it. Then I laid a trap for you. I told you that I had never met Mrs. Salpjaco. Salpenjaco. As a matter of fact, I met her at lunch on Monday last. She is pronounced blonde. No, he says, this man, no, this Litterby, he says, "See, when I promised you, I thought you are the son of Salpilton, and that's why I promised you. But to get information from you, after knowing all about you, my thoughts change. Now I am not willing to help you. I said I have not seen your mother, but in reality I have seen your mother. I met your mother last week. I met your mother, and no, you said last Monday I met your mother on lunch. I met your mother. You said your mother resembles you, but your mother doesn't resembles you. She has no brown hairs. She is a pronounced blonde. Pronounced blonde in the sense, what do you mean by blonde? Yellow hair. She has yellow hair. Okay. The train moved on, leaving the distant cat on the Salpenjaco family cursing furiously on the platform. Now the train moved, leaving the descent in the sense self-styled descent cat on the Salpenjaco's family cursing furiously. The boy, he started cursing himself on the platform. But no way, what will he do? Pity fellow, well, he hasn't opened his fishing expedition by chatting a flat, chuckled Slitherby. He would have an entertaining story to recount at dinner that evening, and his clever little trap would earn him applause as a man of resource and astoundness. Astoundness in the sense cleverness. He was still telling his adventure in imagination to an attentive audience of dinner guests when the train drew up at his destination. Okay, now this man, he was very happy, thinking that oh, what a great thing I have done. Slitherby, he was very happy, thinking that okay, after me reaching the place, when I sit together with my friends, I will say these incidents, and how great people will think of me. He was just lerishing himself. What a great thing I have done. See how nicely I have tracked the fellow. I caught him raw handed. He doesn't belong to Salpchen Jacko's family, but how he dodged me. See, I caught him raw-handed, and this incident, when I sit along with my friends in my on dining table, for sure I'll share this incident, and how people will praise me, they will clap for my intelligence. No, he keeps thinking. No, thinking that he's too great, he has done some great deed, and when he describes this to to his friends, how will they appreciate him? He keeps thinking in his mind. On the platform, he was greeted sedately by a tall footman and noisily by cloth people, Casey, who had apparently travelled down by the same train. Sedately in the sense, in a dignified manner. So as he keeps thinking all these things, no, he was uh, greeted by uh, no, he was greeted in a dignified way by a tall footman and by a noisy, by this cloth people. These people, know, they travel in the same coach along with them. I mean, along with him, but they were away from him. Hello, this is hello. Okay, hello, Slitherby. You spending the weekend at Brill? Good, excellent. We'll have a round of golf together tomorrow. I'll give you your revenge for Hockland. Not a bad course here, as inland courses go. Ah, here we are. Here the car waiting for us, and very nice too. No, they greet one another, and he says, this tall man, he says, Slitherby, you're spending a weekend at Brill, isn't it? Oh, very good. Even we too, we are going to stay over there. For sure, we'll have a good excitement. No, we'll enjoy our time over there. They keep talking. As I talk, no, he says, here we are. The car is waiting for us. How nice it is. No, come, let's move. He keeps saying. The car which won the Casey approval was a sumptuous looking vehicle. What do you mean by sumptuous, student? Sumptuous in the sense expensive. The look of the car itself says how expensive the car is, which seemed to embody the last word in England's comfort and locomotive power. Its graceful lines and symmetrical design masked the fact that it was an enormous wheeled structure, combined the features of a hotel lounge and an engine room. Different sort of vehicle to the post chase. Post chase in the sense here. Okay, now here the author is describing about the vehicle. How is the vehicle? The vehicle is in a great sense a very big vehicle. The vehicle itself shows us it is a costly vehicle where you have all comforts in that. No, it differs. One vehicle to other vehicle it differs, but this vehicle shows it has all comfort where rich people they use it. The look of the vehicle itself shows it is a very great vehicle. Now, different sort of vehicle to the post chase in which our grandfathers used to travel. Exclaimed the lawyer apprehensively, and for Slitherby benefits, he began running over the chief points of perfection in the fitting and mechanism of the car. Now, different sort of vehicles to the post chase. What do you mean by post chase? Horse-drawn carriage. Post chase in the sense it is a horse-drawn carriage. Now, he keeps saying about the vehicle, the elegancy of the vehicles, how great the vehicle look, and the comfort of the vehicles. He keep talking about the vehicle over here. Now, this horse post chase in the sense the horse drawn carriage. It says this horse drawn carriage, which our grandfather used to travel. The man he keeps talking about the greatness of the vehicle. Now he compliments the expensive car. The car which once approval of Casey was an expensive looking vehicle, which he seems to contain that last word in great graceful lines and symmetrical design, concealing the fact. It conceals the fact that it was an enormous wheeled structure. Wheeled structure, it is talking about vehicle. Combine the features of a hotel longing and an engine room. The man, he keeps appreciating about the vehicle, how good the vehicle is, how you know compared to other vehicle, what is the speciality of this vehicle. He keeps describing the vehicle. He appreciate that it was a different sort of vehicle compared to the horse drawn carriage. You would have seen people, they draw the carriage. Compared to that carriage, this vehicle is different, and in which his grandfather used to travel. And for the benefit of Slitherby, he began to explain the chief points of perfecting in the fitting and mechanism of the cars. Now, Slitherby heard not a single word, noted not one of the details that were being expounded to him. His eyes were fixed on the door panel, on which were displayed two crests, a greyhound current and a dim lion holding in its paw a crosslet. Now, whatever this fellow was telling, no, it was not getting into the mind of Slitherby. He was keeping on watching to the symbol that was on the car. See, I'll show you, children. See here, this is the car, and no picture has not captured the symbol. You can see in your book, children, your book page 61. No, you can see the symbol. You could see the symbol of one. You will see the lion symbol, and the other one, the greyhound symbol. You will see. Here Slitherby, he keeps watching at that symbol. His entire thought, view, everything, it goes on the symbol. His mind doesn't capture to what Casey says. The Casey was not the sort of man to notice and observe silent on the part of a companion. He had been silent himself for nearly an hour in the train, and his tongue was making up for the lost time. Political gossip, personal anecdote, and general observation flowed from him in an uninterrupted stream. As the car spread along the country road, from the inner history of the Dublin labour troubles and the private life of the Prince Designate of Albania, he processed with an easy volubility to an account of an alleged happening at the ninth hole at Sandwich, and a verbatim report of a remark made by the Duchess of Patshire at a tango tea. Just as the car turned in at the Brill entrance gate, the Casey captured Slitherby's attention by switching his remark to the personality of the hostess. Now, Slitherby, he did not hear a single word or noted any of the details that were being explained to him. But his eyes were fixed on the door panel, on which were displayed two crests, a greyhound current, and a team lion holding in his paw a crosslet. That symbol, no, he was keeping on staring at that symbol. Then the Casey was not a sort of man to notice and observe silent of his companion. He had been silent for an hour in the train. Why he had been silent? He was dumbstruck looking at that symbol on that car. It was drums up for nearly an hour, and so he was making for the last time in talking continuously to Slitherby. The man, what all he was being saying, no, nothing it gets into his mind. He was totally dumbstruck. Okay. Now, continuously he was talking to Slitherby. He was talking about political gossip, personal anecdote, and general observation, which flowed. So many things he was talking, but no, nothing. It was getting in his mind. Why nothing was getting in his mind, children? Any idea? Okay, we'll see what made him to be dumbstruck. We'll see. Now, brilliant woman, level headed, a clever thinker, knows exactly when to talk up an individual or a case, exactly when to let him or it to drop. Now, no, when Slitherboy was said about Sal Pilton, no, how was Sal Pilton? Sal Pilton, no, a very brilliant woman and level-headed, clever thinker. No, she thinks in a clever manner. She knows how to talk, in what manner to talk, exactly when to take up any individual case, when to drop, when to begin the matter. Everything, woman, she knows. No, she's being a great woman. Obviously, she might be knowing, and influential lady in the sense a lady who has who knows many people in the town, in the country, but spoils herself as her changes by being too restless. No response, good appearance too, till she made that idiotic change. He keeps saying, lady, she's very good lady, good looking. She was very good. Only now she looks in a different manner. No, she was very beautiful lady. Had she not changed her appearance, no, she might have been very good. Like an idiot, no, she made all these idiotic changes. He says, oh, changes are quite Slitherby. What changes? No, in a shocking manner, no, Slitherby, he asks him, changes or what changes she made? What change? You don't mean to say, oh, of course, you have only known her just lately. She used to have beautiful dark brown hair, which went very well with her fresh complexion. Then one day, about 5 weeks ago, she electrified everybody by appearing as a brilliant blonde. Brilliant blonde in the sense yellow color hair. Now he says, this Casey says, oh, you don't know about her, no, you met her recently. Actually, this lady, Mrs. Salpin Jacko, she's very beautiful lady. She looks beautiful with her brown hair, very attractive lady. Recently, she changed her complexion, and to stun everyone, no, she changed her dark brown hair into yellow hair. Quite ruined her looks. Here we are. I say, what's the matter with you? You look rather ill. Now, so long when these people, they were traveling in the car, no, to this Salpington Jacob's residence, what all Casey was talking to him, it doesn't get in his head. He kept on thinking to what he did to Betty. Did he do really right or what? He kept on thinking. But later on, when he came to know that Slitherby, when he knew that Salpington had changed her style, when she had changed the color of her hair, he was dumbstruck. Casey said, no, Salpington, she looks very beautiful. She had brown hair. A very beautiful lady she was, but recently when she changed the color of her hair, she changed yellow, pale yellow, not that much. Really stupid lady she is. Why did she change? She doesn't look so beautiful when compared to brown hair. The moment when Casey said this to Slitherby, Slitherby was dumbstruck. What do you say? She has changed her she changed the color of her hair. The moment he asked all this, they reached to the venue of Slither Salpilton Jacko. They reached the residence of Salpilton Jacko, where he couldn't ask anything, neither he could ask anything nor he could say anything. Now Casey, he keeps asking him, you look rather ill. What happened? You look different. Ill in the sense, he was dumbstruck. Why he was dumbstruck? When he met Betty, he said, no, he looks like his mother, but he didn't agree. He said, no, your mother, I have not met your mother. Your mother doesn't look like you, different. But the reality, he doesn't know that mother has changed the color of her hair. Now he feels, what a great mistake had I done. Had I helped Betty at that time, very easily I would have entered in a political field. Now all his dreams shattered when he came to know that Salpilton has changed the color of her hair recently. All his dreams shattered. He thinks, what a great mistake I had done. Had I been alert, my work would have gone easy. Very easily I could have get into political field. My dream would have come true. What a great idiot I am. He feels for that. So hope children you would have understood this lesson, but anyways, do read the lesson, children. Without reading the lesson you will not understand it clearly. Though you have understood the explanation of the lesson, read the lesson. You must go on to the reading part of the lesson, children. Okay, hope you have understood the lesson. Let us meet in the next class.